Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the Smart Stack channel. My name's Tom. I'm coming today talking to you about Calendly. Calendly is a pioneer, absolutely, but there's been a lot of similar companies since. The idea is I can send a link to my clients, they can see the availability on my calendar, book in a meeting with me right away, and it appears on my calendar, making it very simple, no more back and forth of when are you available, what time, conflicts coming up. A link handles it all, makes it very simple. But in this episode specifically, we're going to walk through everything to do with Calendly and what makes it the leader. Why is it so good? What are some things that it does in terms of design decisions, of course, but also specific features that it has that sets it apart from the crowd. Calendly is a great tool. We see people use it all the time. And if you're thinking about it, this video is going to tell you everything you need to know, how to get it set up, and why you should use Calendly over other tools. We'll see you on the other side. Okay, so right off the bat, this is what you get when you log in. I'm just on a free plan here. I signed up with my Google Calendar. I'll show you how I did that in just a second. This is what you get, and this is what's so great about Calendly versus some of its competitors. It's just so hyper focused on this specific function, and it really doesn't mess around with anything else. And honestly, I think that's such a great part about it. So to that point, as soon as you log in, you basically see what you care about, which are the events that you want to book, or at least send to your clients or partners or whatever it is to book on your calendar. So by default, they'll give you a 30-minute meeting. I created this one a 60-minute meeting, but you can make other types of meetings. So we'll get into that in just a second. You do that over here, and what are those different types of meetings? But then, of course, the other big part of this homepage here is everything along the side, and we'll probably go through more or less most of these here. You might skip a couple of them, but you can go through them here, or if you want to, you can again just collapse. So all you're doing, if you are coming into Calendly, if you have a collapse like this, is doing what you're supposed to do, which is getting links, sharing them with clients. It makes it super, super easy. So what are the different types of meetings? So these ones here, if I go to event type, you can see there's three different types. So one-on-one, so that's what I've done here, one-on-one, one-on-one. So that's, a link that I have. It'd be like Tom's, coffee chat or something like that, as this suggests. You can do a group, right? So you can say, okay, I'll create it and people can book a certain number of slots with me. We'll get to that one in a second. And then finally, round robin. I like this a lot too. If you have a sales team, you don't really care who takes the meeting. You can do that, right? Where it's again just one link, and then hey, whoever's available can come in and meet with that invitee. So those are the different kinds. So one-on-one speaks for itself, I think. You can click in here if I wanted to create a new one, and all you're doing is you're naming it. You're saying new meeting, let's say. You say how long do you want it to be? 15 minutes. You say where it should be. So again, I've integrated with my Google, so it can do that. I can also, if you saw there, I can integrate with Zoom, but it'll actually ask me to connect to my Zoom account. Or you can just say, hey, phone call, and you'll ask in the form for the person to give a phone number. Or you can just say, hey, in person, and put in address, maybe your address. The only other things here would be, okay, availability. So you have a master availability, right? So this is, hey, I work 9 to 5, let's say. But the point of doing an event specific availability is to say, well, I only take these types of meetings. I only take my coffee chats, in the afternoon. And so you could come in here. This is my working hours by default, but I could edit and I could actually come in here and say, well, let's just put it to, yeah, I only do it in the afternoons. And yeah, that's basically, and I can come in and copy it to all these different dates. We'll apply, and then I could apply that, and sure enough, there it is. And I have specific availability for this particular event. And then finally, who hosts it? Again, it's just me, but if there's since it's a one-on meeting, if I had team members, I could put other folks in there. So I'll close that for now. Yes, I don't want to save it. I'll just keep these two. So that's the most basic kind of meeting that you have there. The only other one, yeah, the other ones here are group. So most of this stuff will be the same. The only thing is that you can add a limit, right? So I send out this link, maybe it's a class, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to set it up again. Maybe it's very specific availability. And I say, hey, I want to do this class or this webinar on Friday afternoons. So I could set in that availability. I won't change that here, but it works the exact same way. And then here though, I say, okay, how many people I want to be in that webinar? So like, I have a capacity of 5, right? So that's really the main difference. And this is kind of cool one here. It adds a little bit of urgency. If you want, you can display the remaining spots on your booking page. These ones here, honestly, it was in the other one, but maybe I just skipped over it. But what you can see here also is that you can say, okay, how far in advance? So be like, hey, someone could book a class with me up to 60 days out. but I at least need, I like to do at least a day, right? If it's a class or something like that, where it's like, hey, bookings close, right? If I have a class Wednesday at 3, you can't come in at Wednesday at 2. You have to be at least Tuesday at 3. So give me 24 hours in order to know who's actually coming to my class, let's say. So that might make more sense in the class scenario. And then finally, round robin, very similar to the one-on-one. Um, this won't show me that just because I only have me in my account. But if I had other folks, I could basically assign. I could say who is assigned to this particular event. So that's it. So that's really obviously a huge part of really all that Calendly does is creating these types of meetings. And then once they're all created, of course, I can have a link and I can come into here. Usually this is my 60-minute meeting. It shows my availability. Again, I'll get to that availability in just a second. I can come in, click here, choose a specific time, and then the user, this is what your clients would see, would put in their name and their email and be able to schedule that event. The web conferencing details is because I did integrate with my Google Meet, so that's what it'll actually send out to the client in a meeting. What I really, really like about Calendly, I'm maybe not going to be able to show it fully in this demo, is that when you do this, it does a great job. So for me as the participant, someone, the invitee, the person joining, it's very, very clear to me, and it almost always books in my calendar in an appropriate way. So it puts the meeting in the right spot, the right time, make sure it's blocked off. So it's very good. They've obviously done a very good job thinking about that, the user experience, the invitee experience. That's one thing that I think is very good about Calendly. The other type of link you can have here is just obviously a general link for you. So for Tom, I can put in a 60-minute meeting or a 30-minute meeting. And if you ever wanted to, you can always, for any of these, come in if you wanted to and edit certain parts of this, right? So you can come in here, um, you can rename it, you can change the duration, this, that. Of course, all the things we've already talked about, you can do all that sort of stuff. This is a nice visual calendar of those working hours. That's just a small detail there. So that is creating the meetings. That's really the baseline. That's really most of what Calendly does. And like I said, it does a very good job of it. But let's get into some of these other types of things here that obviously set Calendly apart with some of the other things beyond the user experience, which I think is very good. It does quite a few other things quite well. So let's get into this. So first off, it can show all the meetings that you have coming up, upcoming, pending, past. This is okay, but honestly, I don't see a ton of people using this section, so I'm going to skip over it because most of the time, it just shows up in your calendar. So this is how you show your availability, right? So, if you send out a link, remember I said like 12 to 5, but maybe this Tuesday, I don't know, you have a doctor's appointment for that whole time period. I don't know, it's a long doctor's appointment. Well, you don't want to have someone book you during that time, obviously. And so what you can do is you could come into Calendly and adjust it, but that gets expensive in terms of just the amount of time. And so instead what you can do is probably what you are all already doing, which is put the meeting in your Google Calendar, whatever you're using to kind of manage your schedule. And since we're integrated, I talked about being integrated, allowing me to use the Google Meets link. It also then checks your Google Calendar for any conflicts. So if you put that doctor's appointment in your Google Calendar, that's going to sync up with Calendly. And then when it's showing this page to your clients, that Tuesday, whatever you had off in your Google Calendar, it's no longer going to be available, right? So that allows you to just use your Google Calendar as you always have and make sure that no one's double booking you. Obviously, very, very important. And again, this works very well. I've seen a lot of people use a lot of different tools, and Calendly and Google, they have a great sync, and I've hardly seen any conflicts, any double bookings. It does a fantastic job. Doesn't matter if you're the host of the Google meeting or you're an invitee, right? Maybe the doctor invited you to a meeting. I don't know if doctors do that, but even in that case, it'll block it on your Google Calendar, come into Calendly, block that area off for your bookings page, and you're good to go. So that's what you can see here. So not only is it checking conflicts on your Google Calendar, but it'll also say add events to that calendar. So if a client did book with you, it'll show up on the Google Calendar, right? So it goes both ways. It'll say, hey, what meeting's already on the Google Calendar? Let's make sure we don't double book. But if there is an area that's free and someone books that time in Calendly, make sure it shows up on the Google Calendar, right? So giving you that setting there. You can obviously also connect to other ones here. So I did the Google here, but you can also do Outlook. Interestingly, it doesn't support any other calendars. So I think that is an interesting point, or it doesn't have, I think, Yahoo Calendar or Apple Calendar, iCal, um, other ones we've seen Zoho Calendar. I think that's on purpose. And again, this speaks to, I think, just the ethos that Calendly has, which is being very intentional, making sure that if they're doing anything, it works super, super well. They are optimizing not for serving the masses, but hey, if I have a particular feature, if I'm doing something, I'm going to do it very, very well, right? I've seen other calendars that have, a long, long, long list of different ones, but honestly, when you have a longer list, more potential for bugs. So Calendly clearly said, no, we're going to keep our list short, and we're going to make these ones extremely good, and I think they've done that very well. The other kind of cool thing here, and this one I like too, is that it does put in holidays, right? So depending on which holidays you recognize, you can turn this on. I'm in Canada here, that's where I signed up, and it'll populate all of those. Maybe I say, okay, well, I don't do this one, or you know what, I work on August 4th, so you can put that in. But it's nice where it's able to reference a public database. I don't have to, again, manually go through and say, when's Easter, when are all these different things. The system kind of does that for me. I really like that actually. And of course, you come in here and you could say, okay, well, maybe I'm in Canada, but I work with folks in the US. I can put that in and I can decide what I turn on or off. So pretty nice. And then, oh, no, never mind. Sorry. I was thought of something else here. But in any case, you can see that there. So that's kind of your base, obviously, functionality. And then from here, there are a couple more things. Ones I'm going to kind of very quickly breeze over are contacts, right? So if someone books a meeting with you, you can see a list of all those people and what meetings they have with you. This is like a super, super light CRM. Again, most people don't use it because they have a more intense CRM where it manages it. But to that point about CRMs and having it elsewhere, we talked about some of the other integrations it has. But if I come in here, you can see it integrates automatically with some of the most popular CRMs out there, Salesforce, HubSpot, Dynamics being very popular ones. And so it's very easy to come in here and just connect to your existing integrations. And so that if someone books a Calendly meeting with you, they'll show up in your HubSpot or your Salesforce or whatever you're using. And then when I come here, I won't go through all these, but obviously we talked a little bit about, calendar, different things like that that can integrate. We can even see other things like MailChimp, Google Analytics, popular tools like that. So Zapier, Zoom, obviously very important. So not going to go through all of these because there's a lot there and it's very specific to your situation, but decent amount of integrations. Again, we talked before, not a ton, but enough to kind of get you by. And really the core ones, the most popular ones, they focus on and do a very good job of that. Okay, and now the ones I'll spend a little bit more time on are the workflows and the routing. So workflows are kind of cool. This is, again, maybe overlapping a little bit on CRM type capabilities, but I think this is a good one, especially if you're not maybe a CRM whiz. If you just need a tool to kind of help you remind people of upcoming meetings, they do make it honestly super simple. So out of the box, you can see basically a bunch of pre-baked workflows. I'll just do see all, and they give you a starting point for a bunch of them. I'll choose one of these in a second, but if you didn't like any of these, you can also just create your own workflow. So you can say, hey, before an event starts, maybe 2 hours, send an email, right? It makes it quite easy to do. And honestly, that one right there is literally this workflow, right? Email reminder to invitee. And you can see some of the other ones, request a follow-up meeting maybe afterwards. Hey, maybe you want to email someone else afterwards. Not sure that one. This one would be a good one if you're out and about and you have a meeting. You want the system to text you, actually remind you when someone maybe cancels a meeting with you. You can do that. The texting is a upgraded feature, so I'm not going to show you that today. But in any case, you can see those there. And then really, okay, let's just say this one is the one I wanted to do. So remind invitees coming up to the meeting. You can see it's just a very simple drag and drop, right? So what do I want to do? So this is the name, first of all. Which event types would you like this applied to? So you can say, hey, do I want to remind all types of meetings? And yeah, I think so. So I'll select all. And then based on those meetings that I've selected, I can say, okay, 2 hours before any of those, I like to send an email to the invitee. I can edit the action, so actually what it says. So this is the subject. It'll dynamically put in the name and all these different things. This looks good enough. Honestly, I don't think a lot of people change that. You can, if you want to add new variables, you can come in here and you can say, okay, well, yeah, you can see how I've done it here at event time and event date. But let's say I just back this out. I need to put that back in. I just put in that variable and obviously dynamically put it in before you send out. These ones here are just if you want to include links to cancel. Usually cancellation policy you don't need to do. So we'll do that. And then you can add other actions if you want to. So that was an email to the invitee. You can email the host, text host, all those ones you saw on the previous page. So you can kind of group these together if you want a bunch of stuff to happen at 2 hours before. Email goes to the invitee, text to you, whatever makes the most sense. And then you can just hit save. So that's workflows there. And honestly, I don't think you need to have a lot of workflows. Usually kind of one or two, maybe 2 hours before, maybe one day before. Just set those up and it's kind of set and forget. Okay, the last one here, and then we'll wrap it up, is basically just routing. This is kind of a cool one. This is basically saying, hey, I'd like to qualify my clients before they book time with me. So let's just say a simple example. You're selling software to people, and you say, hey, if it's a big client, I want it to be a long meeting. If it's a smaller client, hey, it can just be a 30-minute meeting, just a quick intro. But I want to make sure if it's a big client, I have enough time. So what you can do is you can come in here. First of all, you can integrate with other forums like Pardot and HubSpot and Marketo, some of these other ones here. Not going to use that, but you could just come in here and create a brand new form. So these are questions you're going to ask your prospective client who's booking time with you before you tell them which meeting they should book. So I'm just going to say this new form, whatever. I'm going to add some questions, right? So what do I care about? So sure, I can ask them their name. That's nice. Make it a required field, sure. But this is the scenario I was describing, saying how big is your company? Question mark, right? And I can say 1 to 10, 11 to 50, and then 50 plus. And this is also required. So very basic. I'm just say, hey, what's your name? How big are you? I like to keep it simple. I don't ask too many questions because that could scare people off. But then you get to come in here and you can say, okay, well, if how big is your company is either this or it's this. This is smaller. Then I want to do a 30-minute meeting. Perfect. And then what I can do is make another route. So think of these as just different routes people go, where you can say how big is your company is, and now 50 plus. Well, then in that case, you can say, well, then it's a 60-minute meeting. You can obviously say you can send them a custom message like, hey, I'll call you, or maybe reroute to a different link, maybe your website. I don't know. Maybe that's for really small people. You don't want to do a demo with them. You can just send them into your website. But yeah, if it's a big company, you do that 60-minute meeting and we'll hit save. And then we can publish that form. And then when I open up this form, you can see it asks me exactly that. So Tom, tester, and I can say 1 to 10. Now I got that 30-minute meeting. Whereas if I would have come in here and said Tom, tester, 50 plus, you can see 60-minute meeting. So pretty cool kind of automation there. So I'll wrap that up there. Again, pretty great tool. A lot of people use it. I like it a ton. It's simple, gets the job done, and it's really the leader for a good reason. A lot of interesting workflows and routings without confusing things. So give it a try. I think you aren't going to regret using Calendly. And if you do give it a try, please use the link in the description as it really helps the channel. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.